Is the proposed health care legislation constitutional? Our next guest is looking at possibly suing the federal government over several concerns that he has. Our guest this morning, Florida Attorney General Bill McCollum, who's joining me from our show from Orlando to explain. Good morning, General. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Is this legislation violative of the United States Constitution? Is the individual mandate constitutional in your mind?
Well, in my mind and in the mind of those in my staff who've looked at this, it probably is not. And the reason why is because it imposes a penalty on an individual simply for the fact that they do not purchase or do not have health insurance. That's whether it's the Senate bill or the House bill. In one version is a fine, the other version is a tax. But in both cases, there's no activity on the person involved. In other words, it's a living tax. It's a tax on you just for living. It just says, hey, you don't have insurance, then we're going to fine you for not having insurance, or we're going to punish you for not having insurance. And so, the powers of the Constitution are enumerated to Congress. In the Constitution of the United States, it says these are the enumerated powers. And if you don't have those powers set forth, the Congress can't take certain action. And it's the consensus in our office that it's not constitutional what is now proposed in terms of this mandate, individual mandate on people to purchase insurance. Now, I've gone out to ask my fellow attorney generals across the country to join us in further analysis. I've not made a final decision on what to do with this, but I do want to raise it. I sent a letter to all of them yesterday, and I hope that we get some of the best brain power in the law business to sit and talk about this and see what happens, assuming, of course, this legislation becomes law and one of these versions is in the final legislation.
General, assuming it does become law and assuming you do determine that it's unconstitutional, what is your remedy? Tell our audience how you would go about challenging this legislation. Do you bring a lawsuit? Does someone else bring a lawsuit? That's what people want to know.
Well, first of all, the people of the state of Florida are represented by their Attorney General. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of my state, just as the Attorney General of each of the other states is the Chief Legal Officer of their state representing the people. There are a lot of individuals in my state who would be affected by this. People who maybe just graduated from college, got a job, don't want to buy insurance, can't afford it or don't believe they can. Small businessmen who may not be able to or don't think they should have to buy it because they're perfectly healthy and so on. It's a sort of a freedom issue. It's an issue over personal liberties, whether we should be forced by the federal government to do something like this, whether the states should be forced when the federal government's Constitution does not enumerate this power. So I believe that every Attorney General has the power to bring a lawsuit, has standing in court to do this. And I would expect that if we concluded what I've just analyzed for you is in fact the case, that it is unconstitutional, yes, I would bring a lawsuit, but there may be some individuals who do as well. In fact, I think that probably for the purposes of testing this, there will be several individuals who would bring suits who are affected by it, who would not and do not want to buy health insurance for different reasons.
General, thank you so much for your comments today. This is something our audience is really interested in, and we'd appreciate it if you keep us updated going forward. Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Be well.
Happy New Year.